Oh, so fabulous.
Hi guys, welcome back to the channel once again. It's your girl Dumebi. If this is your first time coming across my channel, you're welcome. I do hope you decide to subscribe, and if you are a returning subscriber, it's so good to have you here. Welcome back. So first of all, this video is strictly for educational purposes. Please do not go searching out the people that I talk about in this video. Don't send them any form of hate comment, threats, or violence. This channel does not support any of that. So today's video is kind of linked to the brick lady, because this is a discussion that came about from what everybody was saying about protecting black women.
Yo, this man just hit me in my face with a brick, and all these black men just watch and they don't give a fuck.
Yeah. So a black woman, I think I featured her on this channel before. So she actually came out to give her 2 cents about protecting black women. Let's go right ahead and roll the clip.
In regards to black women not being protected, let me first state the obvious. No man should put his hands on a woman. We desire protection, but sometimes what we don't understand is that true protection comes with a level of control. Bodyguards are a good example. A bodyguard will make their client leave from a dangerous place. The bodyguard has to know all the details: who, what, when, where, why, and how. And the client has to listen to the bodyguard and follow the instruction that the bodyguard gives them. It's really an agreement between all parties involved. When the person who needs protecting does not follow the instruction and the direction of the protector, it puts the protector in a situation where they're more likely to lose their life. I have 4 brothers and a father, and I listen to their instruction even when they're not around. They have told me to stay away from certain places if I'm by myself or if it's late at night. They've also advised me not to be drunk or high in certain situations. Even though my brothers, my dad, and the men in my life protect me, I in turn protect them by listening to them and following their instruction. They don't have to come to my defense in some wild scenario, because if I listened to them, I wouldn't have been there in the first place. And this is another thing I feel like is pertinent to say, and I know folks ain't gonna like this one. I don't have sons right now, but when I do have sons, I'm gonna teach them that there's a difference between diamonds and dirt and rubies and rocks. Rubies and diamonds are often in jewelry stores. They're in glass cases, they're secured, there's an alarm system. There's a lot of layers of protection because those things are valuable. But you could pull over to the side of the road and find some dirt and rocks. Expecting a man to risk his well-being, his future, and his life on someone who does not see value in themselves or the man is asinine. That's a very asinine thing to ask. All I'm saying is, protection comes with a little bit of sacrifice. It comes with a little bit of control. And me personally, I feel that what I have to sacrifice and the amount of control I have to give up is 100% worth it to receive the protection that I've been getting my whole life.
So now, after she made that video, there was a lot of uproar, a lot of backlash. People were calling her a pick-me, a mammy. While on the other hand, some people actually agreed with her, and they thought she was spitting facts as well. But she got a lot of negative responses and stitches. But she now came out and made a follow-up video.
I made a video about black women and preventative protection, and how if you want someone to protect you, you're going to have to listen to them and try to avoid being in dangerous situations. And because you guys didn't like what I said, I received death threats. People wish that someone would bust my car window and pistol whip me. People wish that some people, or that they themselves, could find me and hit me with a brick. All these young girls that are out here that are still wet behind the ears but are aging like milk and bananas, calling me old. I'm not expecting y'all to be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that, because I know y'all don't care. But I'm gonna say what I want regardless, because I don't receive my self-worth and validation based on what people say about me online. I proudly grew up in a time before all of that, and my self-worth and validation is based on my principles and my character. Some of y'all wouldn't know nothing about that. So I'll say this again, for the people that have sense, preventative protection is the best kind of protection. For every other crime that exists, we understand that preventative measures is the best way to avoid said crimes. If I don't want my car broken into or stolen or vandalized, I'm not gonna leave it unlocked with valuable things in my car. I know people personally who have gotten their car broken into several times. I've never gotten my car broken into, knock on wood. If I don't want to get robbed, I'm not going to go to the ATM late at night by myself, because that is not a wise decision to make. And you guys can say, well, that still doesn't stop people from getting robbed or their car getting stolen or whatever, but it greatly minimizes the risk. You feel me? Same thing when it comes to condoms and birth control. Condoms and birth control are not 100% effective, but it significantly minimizes the risk of you getting an STD or you getting pregnant. In addition to taking preventative measures by not being in dangerous places by yourself, actually listening to the men that tell you to take preventative measures is another way that will help to ensure your safety as a woman in this world. And to the ladies who have never had a man love them enough to try to prevent something bad from happening to them, you honestly have my sincere condolences. And to those of you who say, why don't you just tell men to stop abusing women? Why don't we hold them accountable? If telling someone to stop being an abuser, a thief, or a murderer worked, then the prisons, we wouldn't have a need for prisons. None of that would exist. So excuse me for living in the real world. I'm a very proactive kind of person. We can't change what happened in the past or things that have already happened to women, but we can help minimize the risk of those things happening in the future.
So you can see in that video, she's kind of doubling down on what she said. She's like, I said what I said. But, before I talk about what I think, I'm just going to go right ahead and play people's stitches to what she had to say.
Difference between diamonds and dirt and rubies and rocks.
That is probably the most classist, elitist, and harmful take I've ever heard. The fact that we are assessing other people's worth in this way, like slave masters, and the fact that if an attractive person uses a calm voice, we will actually listen to bullshit. It's sickening, it's maddening, it's just ridiculous. Treat people how you want to be treated. Point blank, period. Find grace, find some sense of humanity, and stop making excuses for barbaric behavior that should not be happening.
They've also advised me not to be drunk or high in certain situations.
Okay, y'all gonna have to forgive me. I'm a man, butting in women folk business, and I know I shouldn't, but I had to say this. This is incredibly dangerous and misguided. I don't know if you thought you were being deep or you thought you were making a point. Bro, you basically victim blame and say that women shouldn't be drunk or high. They can't have fun. They need to be aware of their surroundings. And while I do agree to a certain extent that people should be aware of their surroundings, for sure, but it's on the onus of men to not do stupid shit or dangerous shit or harmful shit to women. The onus is on the man. It's not on the woman to make sure that there's that. And I think this whole TikTok is very victim blamey. It's very weird, and you're coming off as a pick me, and that's a goddamn shame because you're fighting it for your own. Damn.
By myself, or if it's late at night.
I've seen a lot of people talk about the incident that happened with Ro. She's the woman who got hit in the face with a brick for declining a man's advances. That's the story. I've seen a variety of creators talk about the safety of black women, protecting black women, the lack of nurture, the lack of love between black women and black men. I've seen creators blaming Ro for the circumstances, blaming Ro for what happened, also saying that they would not protect strangers, that it's not their responsibility to make sure that strangers are okay in the street. And truly, I'm unfazed by the conversation, but not the actual story, because that is still a person that's going through some hardship right now for something that she did not deserve. And out of all the videos blaming the victim for what happened to her, this is the video that really made it for me. Because if you clearly watch the video and listen to what she's saying, she blames Ro for being in these circumstances, basically putting herself in harm's way because she doesn't protect herself and value herself, and thus if another man could have jumped in, they could have lost their lives. Had Ro not been where she was when she was there, this assault would not have happened. And because she was at that place at that time, she does not value herself and is not worthy of protection because she is too much of a sacrifice. With that being said, I have a couple of questions for the creator herself. As she seems well educated in what she's talking about, would the assault have stopped had Ro been outside of a bakery, a school, or a church? Is Ro's location the defining factor that enabled her assault? Or maybe was it the man with the brick? Would the assault have stopped had it been morning or afternoon? Is time the determining factor of the assault? Or maybe was it the man with the brick? And it is true, she's right about something where she says that she had her brother and father tell her and warn her not to go to certain places, not to venture with certain men for her own safety. That's something a lot of women are told. Not forgetting that a lot of women don't have these figures and male role models in their lives to tell them such lessons. But regardless, is there no record on the news about men violently assaulting women for declining their offers in broad daylight, in public spaces, in respectable places? Do we not have any news about that? And of course, not all men, but how are women supposed to separate these men? Since if we look at the news outlets, women have been hurt by men who are rich or poor, in the hood, in the suburbs, whatever ethnicity or race or backgrounds and careers, whatever they had, those were not defining factors. The individual was the defining factor. The understanding being, if a man is a bad man and he's gonna hurt you, regardless of where you are, you're going to get hurt. The last thing about that video that really got to me is at the end of the video, she talks about it vaguely, but she basically describes Ro not having enough self-worth and value to make sure that she was out of harm's way, and thus is not worth of being protected. And just to be clear, this is a woman that we're seeing on the internet. I don't believe she knows this woman. This is a woman that we're all watching, millions of people are watching, that has made several videos about her assault. Which, if you read the comments, the men really agree with that last and final statement. Because yes, you're not going to get in fight for any strangers outside in the streets, right? Like, yes, a lot of people disengage from banters between strangers in the streets because you can get hurt. As you never know, somebody could pull out something crazy. But bypassing all of that, you don't think anything could have done to reassure Ro? Because I think somebody could have called 911. I think somebody could have taken a picture of the license plate of the dude. I think somebody could have comforted Ro. I think somebody could have helped her get a cab to the hospital. I think somebody could have been there with her. Like, that's the whole ordeal that I'm stuck on. Because for me, the conversation is not about the safety of black women, the protection of black women, and if Ro deserved it or not. It's about humanity. Because the woman got hurt because she declined the man's advances. And even if you were the biggest coward standing back there, you could have still did something.
Don't understand is that true protection comes with a level of...
After watching this woman's video, I was quite shocked to see the type of reception that she was getting back, especially from women. From my understanding of the video, she talked about women, in order for us to really be protected, we have to listen. We have to understand that there's some element of control and sacrifice. But I really thought that went without saying. How can someone protect us if we don't listen to the things that they're advising us on? The truth is, I feel like a lot of women want men to be men, but on their terms. This is a very controversial take, and I understand that. For someone who grew up with brothers and someone who grew up with a close father figure, all of this went without saying. If my brothers message me and say, this place is not safe, or I don't want you going here, I don't want you going here, I know it's not from a place of control, it's from a place of protection. She's absolutely right. In order for us to even keep them safe, we have to keep ourselves safe too. If they need to come and protect us, they're risking their lives to do that as well.
And comes with a level of control.
Hi, friendship. I really think we should stop preaching to women about self-control when we're not the ones going around smacking each other in the faces with bricks. Everything you said just still sounded like victim blaming to me. You mentioned your dad and your brothers, and they actually sound like the type of men to ask you, what were you wearing, if you told them that you had been sexually assaulted. What we as black women are requesting is not protection from men. What we are requesting is to not be attacked. We won't need protection if they learn to keep their hands to themselves. Again, imagine, picture this scenario. I'm talking to my 6-year-old. He says, Mommy, can I have a cookie? No, you will wait until after dinner. He understands the sentiment of the word no. He understands what that word means, and he understands that it is a full sentence. I said no. So when a grown man, someone who stands up to piss, says, can I have your number? And I say no, it shouldn't require any further action or conversation after that. I said no. Black men are not going to learn to expect our voices and our autonomy unless we as women stop getting on these apps and policing each other. I'm convinced that a lot of women who think like this are the same women who be hitting on their daughters. Y'all be smacking your daughters up saying that they're disrespectful and fast. Hence why you think it is a respect thing when a man does the same thing to you.
True protection comes with a level of control.
You know, the fact that there are grown women that still don't understand this, because I see y'all stitches in y'all comments and y'all trying to talk crazy about this lady. She just giving y'all some really good advice. Like, let's be honest, why would I risk my life trying to protect you if you're not even going to try and listen to me? And this ain't even just no advice to black women. This is advice to women in general. Y'all sit on here and y'all say men are emotional and pride and all this other stuff. So we both know that y'all understand it, right? Because I know men care about their pride. Let's say me and you go out and a man does something to you and you come and get me or whatever. It don't matter, y'all just arguing, whatever, and I involve myself in the situation. First thing I'm gonna do is try to calmly get you, and we gonna remove ourselves from the situation, because the first thing that us men think about is our freedom and our life, because we know how situations like this end. If I'm trying to remove you from a situation and you doing all this yelling and all this other stuff, making it worse, because now I gotta worry about him and you. So now you a distraction. Like, let's just think about it. If I'm trying to get you and tell you, nah, let's go, you like, nah, fuck that shit, fuck him and blah, blah, blah. And this man just pull out a strap and he just killed me. How you gonna feel? You probably won't even care. You probably gonna be in another man's arms doing the same thing next weekend. Y'all don't think about stuff like that. Let me tell you something. There is a big difference between a man fighting and a woman fighting. A way big difference. Because if we get to squabbling in the club and he don't come out victorious, that means I have to think about this when I leave, because he probably done went outside and popped the trunk and a whole bunch of other shit. All because I couldn't get you away from the situation, because you want to say fuck that and fuck him and put both of our lives in danger. You look at the first 48, you will see that most of the reasons why men kill other men is over pride and dumb arguments.
Difference between diamonds and dirt.
I do have two sons. I am going to teach them that everybody deserves their kindness. I am going to raise them to be good, kind people, which means when you see someone being treated wrong, you act on it. Even if that means them running to get help, they will help that person. I am going to teach them not to contribute to the problem that is men hurting women and then turn around and solve it by being their protector. I also have two daughters, and I am teaching them that they are worthy of kindness, love, protection, and care. And no one can determine their worth. No one can determine if they are diamonds or rocks. No one.
Protection comes with a level of control.
Love everything that you said in the video, but I just have a little bit of pushback. So let's talk. First and foremost, the word that you're looking for is not control, because no one is in control over you. You are your own person. You have your own mind, thoughts, abilities, and you have your own autonomy as a woman. So again, no one's in control over you. In fact, the word you are looking for is guidance. The people who assert their provision and protection over you only and can only offer their guidance for you. In other words, they are the ones who are to set up boundaries, rules, regulations over you, to suggest what you should do in certain situations. And it is therefore your responsibility on whether or not you desire to cross those boundaries. So for example, if your protector and or provider tells you, hey, don't go out, you need to be in the house by 10 o'clock p.m. And if you choose to get to the house by 10:01 p.m., that is 1000% your decision, your responsibility, and ultimately within your control. But to suggest that if you get home by 10:01, you are therefore placing yourself in a potentially dangerous situation is entirely asinine. Let me explain. Men are not animals, but men are human beings. They have brains, they have the ability to use logic and reason, and so they also have the ability to control themselves. And the only ones who are in control of the violence done against women by men are in fact the men. This idea that women are in control of what happens to them perpetuates this idea, again, that women are placing themselves in those types of situations, which therefore takes the responsibility and the accountability off the men who are committing the acts. And I refuse to continue to perpetuate this message. At the end of the day, a woman can take all the necessary precautions. She can make sure that she's at home by 10. She can make sure that she's just going to and from work, straight there, straight back, no stops in between. She can make sure that she's not in certain locations at certain times. She can do all of that. And a man who does not have the right intentions for that woman will not care about the precautions that she has taken. And this is why I say that women should learn to protect themselves. Because at the end of the day, it is men's responsibility to stop violence against women by men. And if they're going to keep doing it, then women have to take matters into their own hands. If you are a man and if you are willing to fill in and stand in the gap for women, by all means, be that man and be the change you want to see in other men in the world. But unfortunately, there just is not enough of you. And so that means that women have to band together to begin to protect themselves and ensure that they are able to go home to their loved ones at night.
Is that true protection comes with a level of control.
All I have to say is if I had a thought and I put it out on the internet and then hours later I have a bunch of men in my comments saying, "You're right, you're a good one, sis. This is the woman worth protecting," I would rethink my stance so quick. So quick. Oh my God.
So you guys have heard everything. You can see that most people are actually disagreeing with what she said. From my own point of view, to analyze what she said, I see the sense in what she's saying, but there's also something that she said that I kind of like don't really agree with. From what she said, she has 4 brothers and a father, and they basically have some level of control on her, and she sees that as, like part of their protective measures that they take to make sure that she's safe. And I think that makes sense. Like when I was still living with my dad, God rest his soul, my dad wants to know where you're going to, when you're going to come back, who you're going to see, and all of that. And all these are because they want to ensure that you are safe. Sometimes you'll be like, you're not going there, or you can go there, but make sure you're back home at this time. And it didn't matter that I was a grown woman. I was done with university and all of that. It didn't matter. As long as I was under his roof, I was under his protection and I had to follow his rules. So it makes sense that if you have that male figure in your life, it might be your husband, the man in your life, your brothers, your father, that if you expect them to protect you, they should have some level of input, like giving you advice or stuff like that. It makes sense that they should be able to make such an input because they are looking out for you, right? I think when she said protection comes with control, I think the word control triggered some people, because we don't want to use the word control. It sounds a little too much in some situations, but I understand what she meant. It might just have been the wording. Then another thing that she said that I liked was when she said that she herself has a duty to protect the men in her lives in return by not putting herself in some certain situations. She realizes that when she puts herself in some certain dangerous scenarios, those men in her life will have to come and save her. And for every time a man has to stick his neck out to protect you, he is definitely putting his life in danger. Let's tell ourselves the truth here. Any man who goes out to protect you is equally putting himself in possible danger. Then I think where it started getting a little dicey was when she said the whole thing about rubies and rocks, and how rubies have layers of protection because of how valuable they are, while rocks are just found on the streets, no protection. So that's like saying like there are some women that are worthy of protection and there are some women that are not worthy of protection. And I don't know. That feels I don't know, it kind of rubbed me off the wrong way. But I think her analogy is, it's not about you being a high value woman and you not being a high value woman, or maybe you speak proper or you don't speak proper. I don't think that was the criteria she was using to qualify the rubies and the rocks. From how she further explained it, what I understand is that the rubies are the women that are allowing these men have some certain level of, in quote, control. These men that are their protectors, your father, your brothers. When you allow them have that level of control over you, so much so that you listen to their advice that keeps you safe, that is what makes you a ruby. And then the rocks are the ones that believe, oh, we don't need you, you don't have to tell me what to do, I'm going to do whatever I want to do. I hope I'm getting it. I hope I'm understanding what she's saying. When she says she's going to teach her sons to know the difference between rubies and stones, it's like saying, I'm going to teach my son to know that not every woman is worth him risking his life for, to protect.
I'm so sorry, I lost some of my footage, so I'm just going to be stepping in with this little voiceover. So as I was saying, I need to state first of all that anybody can be a protector. A woman can protect, a man can protect. But in a situation such as that of the brick lady in question, it is understandable why men were expected to protect, because the perpetrator of the crime and the harm and the violence against this woman in particular was a man. So it is understandable that one would expect a fellow man who could have comparable physical strength to the perpetrator to actually intervene in such a situation. So the fact that the men who were there at that moment and those who came up on the internet to comment on the issue decided to start picking at it and trying to access the kind of woman the brick lady was. Her name is Ro, by the way. They were trying to nitpick at her personality from what they saw online to determine if she was good enough, or in this lady's words in today's video, if she was a ruby or a stone. And I think it is crazy that you see someone in need of help and you want to first of all justify if they are worthy of being helped. I believe that if you are a witness to a crime or you're witnessing someone in dire need of help, you should do all you can, regardless of even your gender. And if we were to go by the logic this woman expressed in her video, talking about how she's going to teach her sons to know the difference between rubies and rocks, it is extremely problematic, because I feel like when someone is in need of help and you are in a position to offer them that help or that comfort in the moment, you should not spend time trying to evaluate their value based on how you perceive them or how they present themselves before you decide to help. You should just help. That is the lack of empathy that the men at the scene of the assault with the brick exhibited that outraged a lot of people. Now, it is important for women to always take preventive measures. I've said this before. Go to a self-defense class, carry any device that you can use to protect yourself in the event that there is no one there to protect you, or the people there decide to fold their arms, like in the case of this woman, allegedly, because I really don't know, I wasn't there. But it is more important for us to keep stressing on the men in our society to stop harming women. And we have to also raise the next generation of men to understand this as well.
But anyway, you guys let me know what you think. I want to know what you guys think about this situation, especially when it comes to protecting black men and the whole rubies and diamonds and rock stains. Like, are there some people that are more deserving of protection depending on how they treat the men and in their lives, that they expect protection from the way they carry themselves? Or do you think everybody should be protected regardless of if they even value the men that they demand this protection from? I want to know what you think. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.